Hello and welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Rewind. I'm your host Travis.
And I'm Chris.
And we are back once again. This time we are discussing the MCU. And this is going to be more like the state of the MCU for this past year of 2021, where we're at right now. Coming off of...
PC, post-COVID.
Yeah, that too. Sure, we'll go with that. We're coming off of the previous year where Marvel, the MCU, Marvel Studios, it ended on a high note with Endgame, Far From Home actually, was the kind of like the bookend of that whole Infinity Saga thing. And everybody needed a cigarette break after that.
Cigar.
Yeah. They took a little break, and then they kind of started getting Phase 4 started, and that kind of actually kicked off at the beginning of this year, 2021. And it was actually supposed to be Black Widow originally that was going to start things off. But because of various reasonings, things like that, production, delays, things like that, a pandemic, they just kept pushing that back. All the way. They
wanted to be in the theaters.
Yeah. So we actually got this thing going. We're just gonna kick this off right now with Phase 4 and how we feel about what's going on in the MCU right now. So Phase 4 actually kicked off January of 2021 with their very first TV series. And I don't mean Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because this is done right now. They know what they're doing. They're all in the same studio. They know how to tie these things in.
This is the first thing that actually exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
So we're not talking Luke Cage.
Yeah.
We're not talking S.H.I.E.L.D. We're not talking Inhumans. We're talking actually part of the story.
Yeah, with the actors, the movie actors
on smaller screen.
Yes.
Primarily.
And
WandaVision.
And I gotta say, I remember when WandaVision first came out, and that Marvel Studios logo kicked for the first time. I was like, God, I didn't realize how much I missed that. Because at that point, remember, 2020 was a dry year. More ways than one. But for Marvel, I mean,
a lot of stuff got impacted.
When was Far From Home? You know, that's how long of a break we had. And we're used to like 3 or 4 movies coming out a year.
At least 2.
Yeah.
Now every season's a Marvel season. No.
I mean, they're going pretty hot and heavy for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, for movies, it was usually about 3 a year they would come out. Yeah. But so this is a new venture for them, doing the TV side of things for the Disney Plus app that they're toting out there. But man, when WandaVision hit, the production value, the storytelling, what they were doing,
scratching.
Yes,
because WandaVision, the first maybe 2 or 3 episodes were 60s sitcoms.
Well, 50s and
60s, black and white, and you're wondering, where are we going with this?
You know what? I loved it.
And it's bold because you can lose people. It doesn't matter how invested you are in a franchise or characters in general or actors and actresses, Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. If the show's not good by the second or third episode, you out.
Well, and they respond on that because they played the first 2 episodes back to back because they knew, because of the format they were going, there were every episode. That was such a genius move. Like every episode was a different decade of genre of the sitcoms, family sitcoms and things. So we started out 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, and the theme song changed, and the Technicolor and black and white and all this other stuff. So the first 2 episodes, because of that, they knew they were going to be shorter episodes. So they knocked out the first 2 episodes. And I just dug it.
Did the first couple have a laugh track?
Yeah. Well, if you go back,
the old in-studio sitcoms did.
Yeah, because they actually did a whole behind-the-scenes making of, and they said for those episodes, they actually made the studio they actually brought in an audience. They made like everything like 50s style, like the seatings were 50s. The lighting was. Lighting that you would have found in the 50s TV show, and like the whole thing was, they even said like special effects was all strings and everything else, like because they didn't use computer effects, well, except for the obvious
very
stuff.
Little things.
Yeah, but the stuff that could have been practical was practical, and I just love that attention to detail that they got from that. And as the story went on, I think it was like maybe the 4th or 5th episode that really kicked in. started explaining things like, okay, now we're getting the ball rolling here, and it was just that was a fun show. Just thinking back on it, and stuff they introduced, and some of the shocks we got, or just the surprises, like we got
I get the Harkness.
Yeah, well, that was a whole thing by itself, because we knew that there was something up with there, but we didn't get until towards the end, and we got the little theme song for her. What was it?
It was Agatha all along.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, they sold that on iTunes, I think.
It charted for a while too.
Yeah, and now she's getting her own spin-off series. Yeah. So good for her. We got Evan Peters showing up as Quicksilver or Pietro, I guess. Yeah. And then they had some fun with that, with the costumes, and because it was a Halloween season, and so we got Vision walking around in the old Vision costume, and Elizabeth Olsen and Be Still My Heart with the, oh my god, I couldn't take much more of that.
Oh, it's 60, so it's humming.
Yeah. Now that was the by the time they did the Halloween stuff, it was 80s.
It was 80s or 90s, because that's when
it was 80s.
In the 90s is when they would replace cast members if their contracts were up, and they would just have different actors portray them. So that was the gag of, we didn't bring back the kid from the MCU Quicksilver. We brought the Quicksilver from the Fox universe.
Well, the whole thing was, it was the whole ploy by Agatha. She brought in this guy. It's not even the reveal of that was kind of stupid. I'm gonna admit, like his name was Boner or some weird stupid shit. But it was just a fun show. We got resolution to. The whole thing was basically, if you haven't seen it, spoiler. But if you haven't seen it, Wanda's dealing with the loss of Vision from Infinity War, and she makes up this whole town in her image, basically, and it basically explains how she grew up watching all these old sitcoms throughout the years. So that's why, in her mind, that's why she's.
And so she created this whole town,
and
she possessed the whole town of Westview, and is shrouded in mystery.
Yeah. And they kind of retconned her origin, because in Age of Ultron, when we first see him, they kind of explain who they are, and we don't know. Yeah, they're gifted, and they're miracles or whatever you wanted to call them. They couldn't say mutants for some reason, but now, because of everything with Fox and
it's all theirs.
Yeah. So they kind of retconned her to say, basically, even as a child, she had those powers. Yeah. So that was kind of cool that they kind of retconned that a little bit to get more in line with the way they want to go. And of course, it all culminated with, we get the White Vision, who
I like to call Cataract, who's the opposite of Vision.
Yeah, there you
go. For anybody that doesn't know.
Very good, yes. It's an anti-Vision, yes. But then we get a full-on Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. In all her glory.
And there was a Doctor Strange connection in there. The book of the, I forget what they call it. Darkhold, yeah. If you go back to the first Doctor Strange movie, he's walking around, he sees all the condemned books, whatever, they're all locked up, and there's one missing, right?
Yeah.
That's the book that's missing, and this is all we get the post-credit scene in WandaVision where
we get the crib notes from season 3, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where we get introduced to the Darkhold book.
Oh, I forgot that was in that movie. Yeah. Wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Look at you. Yeah.
Where's the caffeine?
Where'd that come from? So
I'm impressing myself. Look at all these goosebumps.
Yeah. Small things in the world. So WandaVision, it was such a great way to introduce the MCU to this new platform of the TV shows. And it set the bar really high. I'm not gonna lie. The next couple series that came out, they kind of fell flat a little bit for me. We'll go right into that, which was Falcon and Winter Soldier. And this one was kind of what I thought it was going to be. There was a lot of political stuff in there.
A lot of current, relatable political stuff.
Yeah, and not that I'm totally against that, if it's not like hand-fisted to me, but it's one of those things where I didn't think it was necessary, because I think the characters, in this case, Falcon and Winter Soldier, they took a few steps back, because in my mind, in the movies, they were already over all their little quips that they had against each other, right?
Yeah.
Unless I'm totally...
That was the team.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like life imitating art, because we're still in a time where people are beholden to what they're used to. So we can't have an X-23 or we can't have a girl Wolverine. We want Wolverine to be a dude. We need to have Captain America be white. We have to have such and such be such and such. And this was a great test run to see if the general paying audience would accept a black Captain America. I think it's kind of ironic that once that series finished and the downloads or the views were as much as they hoped it would be, we're announcing Captain America 4 with
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie is in the lead.
Right.
So if they would have did this, if the first introduction of a black Captain America was on the screen, I'm not sure if it would have done as good as it would have done on the streaming
in a TV show like this, they had room to
elaborate,
to go into more detail about why he's taking on the mantle, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
See, it's not the race or the gender or anything of changing up these characters. Mm-hmm. It's
or the colored hair.
It's keeping the source material as is, and it's actually staying true to the character. And it's one of those things for me. What kind of gets under my skin a little bit is the focus of those political aspects that get highlighted. They get highlighted in news articles and topics and blah blah blah, and it's just
over the source material.
It's meant to be divisive in my mind, and it's meant to have people argue back and forth about why this is. Oh, but you can't like that. Oh, if you like that, if you don't like that, you're racist. Blah blah blah. All other stuff.
If you're pro something, you're obviously anti something, which isn't the case.
My issue with this whole thing with I call him Captain Falcon now, but with Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier is. It's like he was and this goes both ways for both Winter Soldier and him. They're both their own characters.
Yeah.
Neither one of them needed to be Captain America. Mm-hmm. But, I knew they're going to go one way or the other. And both of these characters have been Captain America in the comics. So it makes... Either way, I didn't have a problem with it. I know there's a few scenes in here. I know... They have to get on a soapbox and kind of get on this. But there was a scene where Anthony Mackie's just kind of him and Winter Soldier just kind of walking down the street, and a police officer pulls him over and starts, harassing him. It's like, okay, we got to go
during the time where if you clicked on the news, that's what you see.
Exactly. And this is the kind of stuff where I don't want this stuff. I don't want to be reminded of reality when I'm watching.
You're watching science fiction to avoid reality. You don't want reality cramped in your science fiction. You want to enjoy what you're watching for what it is.
Yeah.
I get it.
If I just came out of watching Spider-Man movie, I don't want to know about, is MJ a transvestite or something or whatever.
Why weren't there any Spider Women in this Spider-Man movie? Yeah. I get you.
So that's my thing.
Would you, as it is, with all its flaws, if it was condensed to 2.5 hours, would you have preferred to have seen Falcon and Winter Soldier on the big screen, or did you like what you got on Disney Plus?
I think it made sense for it to be a TV show because it needed. There was some stuff. I think, it could have been trimmed down. It could have been. It was like 9 episodes or something like that. It could have been like 6 episodes. Because.
And that last episode was long.
At the end of the day, we knew where they were going. It's just who's it going to be? It is what's the reasoning for them to be. But there was some good stuff in there. I did like the Isaiah character.
That there's more super soldiers out there that.
Well, just his characters in general, like his experiences and him not liking Winter Soldier and his history with him, and then him like not being supportive of of the Falcon taking the mantle. And it's like no self-respecting black man's gonna blah 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 blah. And it's like some of the stuff I get, some of it was kind of over the top, but I still get what they were doing, and I'm not against that. I'm just like, okay, I don't need to see all.
Don't hammer it home.
Yes,
just let it ride.
Yeah, and I think. And this kind of goes along with some of the news reporting, the rumors, and all this other stuff that gets thrown on the internet a lot. Is as soon as the Infinity Saga ended, it was now Kevin Feige's going on interviews and talking about we're going to be more inclusive and we're going to be
first gay couple, first
we're going to do all this other stuff. Blah blah blah. It's like when you highlight that stuff. That's when I get irritated with it. Not because of the subject material, but the fact that you're like rubbing it in my face. Like I don't. If you're gonna do it, do it.
We'll tack that. We'll tack that later on because that's gonna come up again.
Yeah. Okay. So that was. Real quick? What'd you think of the new Captain Falcon, the new Captain America, the costume and all that?
Hot topics aside, the story it told me, I understand completely. If I were to put myself in his shoes, why he would have reservations on trying to fill the shoes of someone that has people tend to forget this. Steve Rogers had superhero abilities, superhuman abilities. Falcon doesn't.
Right.
So that is a
Anthony Mackie or Falcon doesn't have
neither. Yeah. Well, I don't know Anthony Mackie as a person, but I'm gonna just go with Falcon doesn't have superhuman abilities.
Right.
So to fill those shoes, I bet there is an internal struggle that, regardless of what color you are or what sex you are, can you live up to that?
What'd you think of the costume? That's what I want to know. It was straight out of the comics. I'll give him that. It was very comic accurate.
Very white. And I mean that as a color, not as a race.
I was going to say, is that irony?
Oh my god.
Or a little slap in the face? I don't know what they're doing with that.
But with the whole wings and everything, oh, he looked bad.
There were some cool scenes when he was kind of busting through and using the wings.
Dude, the opening episode where he's fighting
the Leaper dude.
Batroc. Yeah. And he's flying through the door of the hell. Oh, dude, there were some badass scenes in that
Here's the problem with the show, though. Between that and that, there's a lot of ugh.
There's a lot of fluff. I get it,
yeah. But, and...
Not to mention, again, on the premise of following big shoes, you start with WandaVision doing as good as it did. That's a hard act to follow.
That's what I said.
It is a hard act to follow.
It was a high bar that they set right off the gate.
And then after that, you would think if the story isn't gonna be as good or as captivating as WandaVision was presented, you'd go with the fan favorite. Oh my God, Tom Hiddleston's own show. Squeeze! Let's get Loki.
Yeah.
And then we give Loki a run. How far do you think it got to you?
What do you mean?
Like, Loki.
How much I like it?
Yeah.
It took a while. It took a while for me to kind of really... I thought it kind of dragged on a couple minutes too long. I thought the whole setting and everything was a little weird. It was a little... I don't know if it worked so much for live action. This is something I can maybe see in the comics, but...
Is that because Loki's always been presented as grandiose, different, colorful, vibrant scenes, and then you stick him in the office, and then you just stick him in the office for 6 episodes? Kind of.
Yeah, it was weird seeing him with the shirt and the tie and all that.
His own cat or Flurkin, depending.
Yeah. I don't know. There was some annoyances with that show. The whole purpose of that, I think, was the whole build up to Kang, the whole thing, and them creating the multiverse. I guess you could say. Yeah. But then once everything gets going, it ends like mid scene. It just cuts off. To be continued. It's like, what? And then the only post-credit scene we get is Tom Hiddleston or Loki will return in season 2. Yeah. I was like, Jesus.
That's how they get you!
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But it was fine. Like, Tom Hiddleston, the whole show is riding on his back. However...
Female Loki.
Yeah. And I've slept since the show came out, so I'm drawing a blank on her name.
I forgot her name, too.
What's her name? But anyway, she was kind of that was more of a breakout role because I never really seen her before in really anything. But I thought she held her own against Tom Hiddleston, and she played well against him in the scenes that they're in together. I was under the impression
Sophie DiMartino.
Sophie DiMartino. What? Yeah. Okay.
Who was barely outdone by Gator Loki.
Oh Jesus. I was under the... Were you thinking... Because I was kind of thinking that... Are they going to get rid of Tom Hiddleston and she's going to be like the new Loki going forward?
At first I did. Once the other variants popped up towards the end of the first season, I was like, okay, so this is... Again, we're already getting a tease of the multiverse.
Yeah.
With all different kinds of Lokis.
But this is a good starting point for her. I mean, I thought she did really good, and she had a lot of action scenes, but she had a lot of emotional scenes too when they were spilling their hearts out to each other, basically. Yeah. Even though they're both Loki, but they're kind of have feelings for each other, or he has feelings for her, which is it's kind of weird. Like the more you think about it, but
you love yourself. It's just another. It's it's almost like you love.
But it makes sense. It's Loki. Of course, he's gonna love himself, right?
Yeah. I could kind of see Loki kind of branching back into the movies. And like kind of pass the baton on the app side to DiMartino for season 2. Somewhere in the middle of season 2, Loki has to take off, or Thor grabs him and he joins the Asgardians of the Galaxy, and Sylvie runs off and finishes what Loki started.
I think it might be more of a Agent Coulson type of situation, where Agent Coulson died in the movies. He went to the TV shows, and they never mention him again. I don't even think anybody in the movies know he's alive, except for maybe Sif.
Or Fury. Definitely Fury.
Yeah. Yeah, Fury would have known. But other than that, like I'm saying, it was never mentioned again. And this could be a situation where if it is Loki, continue on. It's Tom Hiddleston.
Does Loki want to let the team know that there's like evil versions of him that are different sexes and animals and races that they might have to fight later? Nah, he'll keep it to himself.
No, and that's another thing. Like if you do bring him back in the movies, what do you do with him?
Yeah.
You know? So, so, okay, Kang the Conqueror, or the what was this called? The last, or the old, I forget his name.
It's been a while.
Yeah. But he wasn't Kang the Conqueror, but he
was an iteration of Kang.
Yeah. But anyway, this is a version of Kang the Conqueror, and he says, hey, look, you kill me, and you're going to set loose all these other versions of myself, and I'm the nice one, basically. And, you know, what'd you think of all that? Did you think...
It was an interesting tease because as much as he's trying to do what's best for everyone involved, that's kind of still a villainy thing to do, to be like, well, I have to be the bad guy and do what I'm doing for your best interest.
Yeah.
No different than Thanos wiping out half the population for the rest of the population's best interest, depending on what view you're looking at. So, in a sense, you had to kill it, even though killing it was going to make everything a whole lot fucking worse, which it did.
Right.
But I bought it.
Yeah.
I liked his performance in Loki, that I kind of don't want to see the brooding, silent, very stern version of Kang the Conqueror.
I don't think we are. I don't think we're going to get that. I think we're going to get... Well, we're going to see... We can see him in multiple times, multiple different iterations. And that's kind of the cool thing of that character.
He actually... It's weird because we just saw him in Spider-Man. He reminded me of like Hannibal Buress. This Kang the asshole.
Yeah.
But for your best interest, looking out for you, asshole, as opposed to Kang the killer conqueror guy. That's Ant-Man's gonna run into sooner or later.
Yeah. Did you see the tease of that? Like, there's a crew member of Ant-Man.
The shirt and the helmet's broken, and you see a reflection.
Yeah. So we got our first little tease of what Kang's, and it looks like Kang. It looks like his outfit. Yeah. So, but anyway, so that was Loki. There were some hits and misses on that one too, but and then we kind of move on from there. We get into the first animated series, which take place right after Loki, which makes sense because they introduced the multiverse, and this one shows multiple versions
of things
of that. So, you told me off air you didn't watch. I
saw the first one front to back because I was legit curious of Peggy being Captain America or Captain Britain, Captain Carter. And Steve Rogers being the love interest.
Yeah. I do have some major gripes about What If. The whole series as a whole. Some of these episodes worked. Some of them didn't work, in my mind, in my opinion. The Captain Carter thing, yes, I understand why that was the opening episode. You kind of want to show, hey, what could have happened? But it was literally just they swapped places and everything else was basically the same. And a lot of it didn't make any sense.
The only charm was having most... because they didn't get everybody from what I've read, most of the MCU actors to do the voices for their characters.
Yeah, most of them.
So I think it was the second episode where T'Challa was picked up by the Ravagers.
He did a total of 4 episodes.
4 episodes, but just hearing Boseman's voice long after him passing away kind of gave me the feels for a second. But some of the stories just didn't grab me enough for me to want to watch the whole season. So I probably watched maybe 2 episodes.
It was so weird. Like the first episode was barely a change. It was just they swapped characters. The second episode with the Guardians and all that was like
too much.
Way too much change. Yeah. Like how would all this be affected if T'Challa was picked instead of Peter Quill? Yeah. So that turned off a lot of people.
Killmonger being the Panther or something.
That happens later on, where it's like he saves Tony from the start of Iron Man 1, which that was an okay episode. I didn't have really a problem with that one.
And was that Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah. Okay. Now there was of course the Marvel Zombies episode, which even that was different from the comics. They were just like mindless monsters, but they still had their powers. But if you read the Marvel Zombies books, they still have their personalities and they can talk and all this other stuff. This is they hunger for brains. Go figure. But like
and you would think that's a completely different spin-off from What If, because there's zombies stories all over the X-Men, not X-Men, all over the Marvel franchise that you can do your own Marvel zombies.
Yeah.
And it's one would be the Guardians, one would be X-Men, one would be Fantastic Four, one would be Captain America.
So here I have 2 big gripes about that series as a whole.
Go for it.
One, I would have preferred if they had different animations for every episode, not to because I didn't want a uniform sense of anything, which leads into my other complaint number 2. It ends with the Watcher getting involved and plucking the heroes out of all the episodes and them doing a team up against a version of Ultron. It's like it's the total
antithesis of what the point of the series
exactly is. Yeah, it's like you're taking them from different universes. No, I don't want that. I want keep everything as separate as possible because these are different universes. So that kind of it fell flat for me.
I think I'm pretty sure that the Captain Carter is actually pulled from an actual published Marvel What If comic. Most of these episodes don't come across like that, and they should.
No, because it's all about the MCU. It's not about necessarily comics.
Yeah. So if they would have done more, if they own the properties for all that stuff, I would have wanted to see one of my favorite ones that I've read that I still have is what if Venom took over Deadpool. Mm-hmm. And it just, but those actual what ifs that were published that you can actually go back to as resource as opposed to we're just watering down the MCU to what we own as opposed to or what we've told you so far as opposed to everything that we can offer, And that's probably why it lost my interest because there were just things that for whatever reason the zombie stuff didn't get my interest.
Yeah.
I saw the first maybe 15 minutes of that Iron Man one where Killmonger is the one that saves Tony. Didn't keep my interest.
There was a pretty decent
Star-Lord.
T'Challa
didn't catch my interest.
There was a murder mystery episode where someone was taking out all the Avengers, and it was neat. I was kind of following along with it, but then the reveal was out of left field. It was you wouldn't. There's no reason for you to suspect who it was that was killing.
I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those damn kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was What If, and that kind of leads us into Hawkeye.
Full disclosure, up front, my original plan for Hawkeye, which I am still stuck to up to this point, I have not seen anything of Hawkeye. I am waiting until the series is finished, or maybe the weekend of the season finale
next week,
and I'll have time to binge everything in one sitting, so that I could actually remember it.
This is a show, and again, the show's still going on, and I'm caught up on it. But this is a show where I didn't have no expectations for it. I was like,
is that because
it's Hawkeye. It's Hawkeye, and not
he's got a quiver of arrows.
Not just that, but it's just like the trailers for it when they started coming out. It wasn't appealing to me that much, and the first episode was okay.
Can I go a step further and say I'm not a big fan of Christmas in general? I grew up not celebrating it, and now that I'm older and I tried a couple times, I don't care for it. Hearing Christmas music in September now, it's like, fuck it. So when I see the commercials at Hawkeye, all the advertisements and posters that it's going to be a Hawkeye Christmas or whatever, and you see, it's like, that turned me off a little bit.
But it's not really...
in your face?
Not a holiday. There is an episode, it's a holiday episode where they're kind of... Well, it's about the character Kate Bishop, played by Haley Steinfeld, and I've been a fan of her since Bumblebee.
Same.
And she's still doing such a great job in this one too. So I've become a big fan of her. So their interactions between her youthfulness and Jeremy Renner's I'm
too old for this shit.
Yeah, it's a good back and forth. They have a lot of good scenes together, and to me, it feels like it's obvious that they're passing the torch. Like she's gonna be because look, he's in this series, he's like the famous Avenger. Like he's walking around, people know who he is and things like that. And he's playing it off really good because he's just a normal guy. He's like they're at a restaurant with his family, and the waiter comes up to him and says, "Hey, we want to give you this free food for saving the blah blah blah." And it's like, "No, I don't want it." Blah blah. And please take it. It's like, okay, I'll take it. So it's like he's reluctant to take in the accolades that he's earned, for helping saving the city.
Is that the same kind of aspect that you're getting in this series, like we were told in Falcon and Winter Soldier, where Falcon has the responsibility of following Steve Rogers with powers? Hawkeye is being treated as an equal. They're blessing him like an equal, even though he has no fucking powers, as opposed to Hulk and Iron Man and not Iron Man, but Hulk and Rogers. Is it like that?
This one's kind of weird because even in some of the lead up, the trailers and marketing for this, the whole thing was there's an Avenger on Disney Plus now. Blah blah blah. There's Avengers this and they're taking some quips from the TV show where it says, "Hey, you're an Avenger." Well, it's like, where was all that for Falcon Winter Soldier? And I think that'd be the only example because Yeah, because WandaVision, they're on their own thing, and Loki's not even in this dimension, basically.
Yeah.
So that, but I don't see why that wouldn't be the case.
Why the fanfare?
Like,
or maybe they, just like our opinion, it's Hawkeye. You need to boost up Hawkeye. You don't need to boost the Shield. Or you don't need to boost Hiddleston. Or you don't need to boost WandaVision's romance.
Well, I will say that this makes, in my opinion, so far, this is the 5th episode, and I don't know how much I want to reveal right now. It's still going on, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But
spoiler-ish.
Yeah, no. This has made Hawkeye as a character more endearing.
Okay.
As a character, because I mean, there's scenes where he's like, he's in a big action scene, a fight scene, and then he goes back to their hideout, and you know those frozen daiquiri drinks,
yes,
in the pouches. He takes like 5 or 6 of them, like wraps it around his shoulders and his knees and everything. And he's banged up, and he's literally saying, "I'm too old for this shit," without saying it. So that's why I was watching the show. I'm thinking, is he like, he can't continue as an Avenger? Like, man. Yeah. And I will say there is a nice little plane, trains, and automobiles vibe to it, where if you haven't seen the movie, Chris, they got to get back to his home in time for, I think, Thanksgiving. But in this one, it's like he's with his family, but he sends his family home because he's got to help her out, and he's saying, "I'll be home for Christmas," and it's like 5 days until Christmas, and then it's like 4 days, and it's like 3 days, and so every day he's got to call in, and it's like, I'm
too old for this shit.
Well, no, this thing's going on a little bit longer than I thought. I'll be one more day. I will say there's a really touching scene. I think it's episode 3. I think 2 or 3. In this show, he's got a hearing aid, right? Mm-hmm. And she even asks him, "What's with the hearing aid?" And he's like, "I don't know." And they show a bunch of flashbacks of like explosions going off all around him, like in Endgame when the compound blows up and it crushes on him, and like they show like all this little. That's kind of funny. He's like, I don't know. But there's a scene where the earpiece gets smashed, right? And he can't hear anything. And his phone starts ringing, and it's his wife on the thing. And he like answers the phone. It's on speakerphone, and he says, "Hey, babe." And Kate Bishop looks up, and she walks over there, and she like takes a pen and paper, and she says, "It's a little boy," and holds it up to him. And he like pauses, and he's like, "Oh, hey, boy, hey, son, how's it going?" Blah, blah, blah. And so she's coaching him. The son's asking questions. She's like writing it down real quick, and he's talking. So it's a really nice, touching scene. I'm getting like kind of choked up about talking about it, because it's a nice scene. It's
tugs the heartstrings.
That's what I said. It makes them more endearing, and it makes them two together a good team up together. So all that being said, we're still into it. I will say there is a payoff to the post-credit scene in Black Widow, with a certain character that was introduced in Black Widow. Mm-hmm. She's now over here.
Got you.
There's another character from maybe a Netflix show that might pop up.
Okay.
Yeah. So again,
you're 1 for 2. I didn't catch any of the Netflix shows. Remember this.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So
but I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, that's that. And like I said, right now it's still going on. One more episode as we record this. So we might even do a follow up. I don't know. I don't know. But okay, so that's where they're at with the TV shows. For 2021, for the movie side of things, we had Black Widow, we had Shang-Chi, and we had...
It's not Sean, it's Shang.
Shang-Chi. I always have to elaborate. Shang-Chi. So we had that one, we had Eternals, and now we have Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
So, yeah. We mentioned earlier, Black Widow. Okay. It was supposed to be like a year or two ago, right? This movie was supposed to come out.
Were your expectations or anticipations tempered by the fact that we waited so long, or they was pushed so far because they had to have the experience in the fucking theater?
And I didn't go to the theaters. That was the only movie that I actually paid the premium rental price for.
$30?
Yeah. And you and our other friend Scott came over, and y'all kind of chipped in.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
We do what we can.
Yeah. So
I slept through some of it.
Yeah. By the time it came out, like, I didn't even care, really. I was like, I just want this fucking movie to be over so we can get phase 4 going. Yeah. So, and I gotta say, going into with no expectations, that was a good movie. It was way better than I thought it was gonna be. Because look, Scarlett Johansson, she's great to look at. Mm-hmm. Acting wise, give or take.
Is Yelova the actress's name or the character's name? Black Widow's sister.
Yelena?
Yeah, Yelena.
Elena. Whatever. What about her?
She is nice to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, Florence Pugh.
Yeah, there we go.
So she was introduced in the movie, and again, talking about passing the torch, obviously.
Yeah.
There ain't nowhere else for the other.
Story's been told. Black Widow's dead. Yeah. Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, there was some good banter back and forth between everybody. There's some decent action scenes. The final act, if I remember correctly, was there's a hidden
In space.
The Red Room. It was up in space or some shit, and that blew apart, and they were falling. That was a mess. The Taskmaster, which was a cool villain up into the reveal, it was so silly and absurd. But I like the look of Taskmaster with the mask on. Mm-hmm. So there were some definitely hits and misses. I'm not going to say it was great by any stretch of the imagination, but like I said, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. I'm talking a lot, so what do you think?
It was a very great movie for, and I don't want to say this in a negative light, but this is definitely one of those movies that women empowerment. There hasn't been a lot of that on the if you go by ratio, all we've had is what? Ant-Man and the Wasp.
You're talking about MCU.
Yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp. And that's pretty much it.
As far as leading
women.
Yeah.
And I think I would definitely, this is better than Wonder Woman 2. I think it's definitely better than Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm not sure if it rivals Wonder Woman, but I think the story itself was pretty good. Taskmaster, I liked. It just felt, the only thing for me, twofold. Number one, waiting too long because of the COVID saga. Mm-hmm. And this kind of felt like Solo, in the sense that it was cool to look at once, but in the overall scheme of things, I'm not sure if this was necessary.
Yeah.
We could have had Taskmaster in another movie. A lot of it might be the studio's fault that they waited this long to give a female lead, a comic character, its own movie, as opposed to...
You totally forgot Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah, hey, Captain Marvel happened. But again, ratio. How many? We're 80 movies in MCU. DCU's only in 4 or they're 7, and 2 of them have women. So the ratio is a whole lot better for DC as opposed to all the Marvel stuff that's going on. So, but that also, the kickback also would be Hawkeye. They're passing the torch to Haley, so that would work too. Captain Marvel. That's another one of. Did I really need to see that?
No, nobody needed to see that.
The origin of Coulson.
Nobody needed to see that movie at all.
Yeah, that's my overall feel. It's a great movie, but if it was on the telly, I'd probably change the channel. I don't even own it, and even though we have the Disney network, sometimes for our personal collection, we tend to buy stuff anyway. And I don't own it.
Me more than
you. I don't plan on owning it.
I did like the opening, the Nirvana remix.
Yeah, the brooding smells like Teen Spirit. Yeah,
even though that's a trope that I hate, like the slow remix of popular songs.
There's a movie coming out right now that's doing something in the way from Nirvana. And very brooding. Yeah, Batman. Yeah, which I like too. But again, do we have to depress every cool song that we grew up on?
Apparently, yes.
Yeah, apparently
we do.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was Black Widow in a nutshell.
Yeah. I would venture so far to say that I would not call Black Widow the kickoff to Phase 4 because it was in the Infinity War timeline. I don't even look at it as the kickoff to Phase 4, even if it hasn't been delayed. It's the leftovers. It's the B-roll, the B-sides of the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
Phase 4 starts to me with Shang-Chi.
Well, does it start with WandaVision? Or is that still
in the movies?
In the movies. Yeah.
In the movies, yes. Phase 4 starts to me, Quang-Chi.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi.
Quang-Chi.
I'm mixing all my franchises now. Yeah. So then when Scorpion and Sub-Zero show up, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. Shang-Chi, it was fine. It didn't feel like a Marvel movie. And I'm going to say the same thing for Eternals, just to let you know.
We'll get there.
But for this one, there's a lot of it that, some of it dragged a little bit too much to me, but it wasn't. I'm not gonna say it was a bad movie, but there was stuff that there's a few times where the action or whatever was just getting going, and I was about to get into it, and then it's over. It's there's the fight scene. I think it was on the bus. Mm-hmm. It started getting going. And then it ends. You know, there's another scene like later on where they're doing another fight scene towards the end. Right when it's getting good, oh, it's over. It's like, give me more of that good shit and less of the not good shit that I was seeing in this movie.
I'll agree with that to the extent that the action scenes were better than I thought they would be. That it made me want more killer, less filler.
That's what I said. Give me more of what they were offering. But look, the only other martial arts stuff we have for Marvel stuff is Iron Fist. And that bar is really fucking low. That was like down in the bottom. Mm-hmm. So, and the good thing is their stunt coordinator was Jackie Chan's personal fight coordinator or whatever. So there was
top notch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it didn't feel like a Marvel movie to me for whatever reason. And you just, like you said with Black Widow, I didn't really need to see this one. Mm-hmm. There's nothing except for the post-credit scene.
The only reason, and that was what I was going to get to. The only reason that you should see it is because this is relevant to the timeline now. Black Widow, the movie, isn't relevant to anything because her chapter in the MCU verse is we're way past it.
Yeah.
To the point that there's no point in revisiting an origin story now. There's enough stuff in Shang-Chi that it's relevant now that they're going to follow through that you should at least have this in your diet.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you in the whole retconning of the 10 rings, from that, I don't know. It was
the retconning doesn't bother me so much as the actual trope that Marvel's been doing almost ad nauseum at this point, that the first part of every new hero story, the villain has the same power that the hero does. Mm-hmm. At least the reason why, and this is my observation, the reason why I think Spider-Man has done so well up to this point is that there isn't an anti-Spider-Man. Every villain that Spider-Man's had had power, something completely different that Spider-Man had to adjust to defeat them. And the exception is Venom, which even though Venom does have wall crawler stuff, Part 3, he didn't do most of that. But the fact that Spider-Man, that everything is different, makes me more optimistic. I like that more. Iron Man's first villain, basically the same guy in a suit.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi's first villain, it's his dad, but the crux is the 10 rings. You know, Thor, another god. Right. You know, Captain Rogers is another guy with serum. It's basically the heads and tails coin. The villains the tails, the heroes the head. But that's almost every origin movie.
Yeah.
And so when that happened in Shang-Chi, I was like, man, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to last with these new movies. I mean, I gave them the benefit of the doubt just because they can take franchises like Guardians of the Galaxy that casuals and semi-comic book fans have never heard of and make fucking constellations out of them, not just stars. Like they fucking make their own fucking universe just out of an unknown franchise.
Yeah.
So on that premise, that's enough equity that I'll give Shang-Chi. I'll give Eternals. There's probably something else. Morbius, even though it could be tied to the MCU in some hook or crook fashion. I'll give stuff like that the benefit of the doubt because Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't a home run. It was a fucking grand slam out the building, you know?
Yeah. Well, and you just, talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, the next movie, Eternals, there was a lot of comparisons to Guardians because, everybody says, who are the Eternals? Nobody knows who the Eternals are. But look at Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody knew who they were, and that was an awesome movie. Here's the thing. Guardians of the Galaxy has interesting characters and they're fun personalities, good cast. There's wit, there's banter, there's action. It's the space opera. I said it before. They created
the soundtrack helped a lot too.
They created their own Star Wars with Guardians. Eternals has none of that.
None.
Eternals,
which is sad because most of that cast has the potential when you put them together to make something phenomenal. And for whatever reason, somewhere in between of okay and fell flat is where I'm at.
I don't even know if it even goes that far, man, because it was just, I said, Shang-Chi, I really didn't need to see the movie, but at least it was entertained. I was entertained at certain points with Shang-Chi.
Did you find Awkwafina overly annoying or just enough to make the movie funny?
No, just enough.
Just enough?
Yeah,
okay. She has moments in certain films, or her humor in general, where after a while, you can get worn out pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to see her in a starring role or anything, but she's a good supporting character, gotcha. I think. So with Eternals, the press and the everything else going into it, the reviews that I was already seeing, this was the lowest rated Marvel movie ever on Rotten Tomatoes. It was like 57% by the time, like a day before it came out.
I don't think there's an Angelina Jolie movie on that resume on Rotten Tomatoes that is any lower than what she got on Eternals. And it's a Marvel franchise.
Here's the thing.
Who's been knocking out for the most part.
Here's the thing. Guardians of the Galaxy, they have a fucking raccoon in a tree, and Peter Quill and the soundtrack and all those other, everything's fun in that fucking movie. There's nothing fun about this whole movie. Is just almost 3 hours of just morose, just blah. It's all this is blah. Like, there's nothing Marvel about it. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Like,
I get it completely.
I just halfway through, I was like, where's this going? Where's
the payoff?
I was actually dozing off during this movie.
It doesn't help that this motherfucker's long too. Eternals is long.
Yeah, and I said about the tree and raccoon for Guardians. These are characters you can identify. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you a single character's name in Eternals.
They never said them enough for you to get to associate one. And I think some of them had to do with their powers, but even then, there wasn't enough storytelling for them. I agree. I don't know any of their names.
I think Icarus. I think Thena. Sprite,
the little kid.
That's it, dude. There's like 12 characters.
Eros or Gyros,
something like that.
The one that builds the.
Oh yeah.
The mechanic, the builder.
Yeah.
That guy, the black dude.
They had to be gay. They had
taking the pin off the wall that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, that was totally unnecessary.
Totally unnecessary.
It was totally unnecessary.
But was it in your face?
A little bit, yes.
Because from what I remember, all they announced was that he had a kid with his husband. I'll repeat that again. He had a kid with his husband, adopted kid, and that they were living together. They did the IKEA joke with the table, and then as he left, he kissed him in the mouth in front of everyone.
Full front view. in the straight.
Yeah, dude, but that was it. There was no other mention of it after.
But the whole, that's what I'm saying. The whole scene was not necessary. To the point, I was watching it, and then there's a guy with his the son like 2 seats down from me, and all I heard is ugh. Like, who are you? Like, this is going against your core audience.
Was this an example of Marvel just letting Chloe Zhao, who just was it an Oscar?
Yeah.
Say, we're going to put a Marvel sticker on it.
Yes,
run with
and
whatever you want to do.
Yes, and I'll tell you why. I remember in an interview, Kevin Feige even said, "I think this movie is going to win an Oscar. This is the first Marvel movie that could win an Oscar for Best Picture." So as soon as he said that, I was like, "They're hyping this shit up way too much. They're trying to be too artistic. That's the problem. I don't need all that.
It'll cloud. You don't need things clouding the story. Yeah. If the story's great enough, everything will follow.
And here's the
problem.
There's
a reason why Dark Knight won the awards. And the story's great to follow.
Here's the problem. This wasn't a good story.
Yeah, that's true.
There's too many characters.
There's too much. This was the worry I had with the new Spider-Man. It had such a great cast.
Yeah.
Overcast almost at some point that it could get too convoluted, or you can get lost in translation, and you'll just leave the theater scratching your head.
Yeah.
I left the theater other than the opinion that visually it was gorgeous. Chloe Zhao's direction was pretty good. Other than that, as far as the actual movie itself, I had no opinion whatsoever, good or bad. It was just there. Yeah. It's 2.5 hours that I spent watching the movie.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's sad to say, definitely lower tier on the MCU list for me.
It's just, look, at this point, 11, 12 years into the MCU, they have the track record to say, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to watch it, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. That's where I was at that. I walked out of the movie. I was disappointed. Like, I just, fuck. This is kind of like how I came out of Captain Marvel. But this is on a much grander scale. And my disappointment was,
where does it fit?
Yeah, exactly.
Where does this fit?
There was no, like, we just got Spider-Man. There's no
30 seconds, a tease of Galactus. That would have been like, oh, I know where we're going now. I know why this is here. This needs to be in my diet of MCU.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No.
Except casual fans confusing Obadiah or whoever that god was with the six red lights. People confusing him for Galactus.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it. But that's probably the biggest part of why I'm so meh with the movie is that I don't know where this fits.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. And I'm kind of the same way. It's like, I saw it. I kind of want my time back.
I will say as an upper, that post-credit scene with the Black Knight and Blade in the background when they open that sword of souls or whatever it's called, I'm like, all right, I want to see where that goes, but I didn't want to have to sit through 2.5 hours to end up to that.
Even then, even for me, I was like, and I just kind of walked away. Because, we hear a voice in the background. We don't see anybody, but it's
insinuated that it's Blade.
No, Kevin Feige said that was Blade.
Yeah.
So...
And just like you're fans of actors, I'm a fan of Kit Harington. And I thought he did okay for what he had in the movie. And seeing that in the posting, I was like, oh, he's going to get something. We're going to see more of this. I'm curious where this goes. But I'm not curious about other people's characters that I saw in that movie, for the most part. It's like,
It was way too long, and there was not... even the stuff with his character, that dragged on, it's just like until the very end, to the fucking post-credit scene. It's like, Jesus. But this is the first one that I could think of where there's like no
follow-up buzz for next.
Well, that too, but there's no other MCU characters that pop up. Mm-hmm. There's a mention of, who's going to lead the Avengers down, blah, blah, blah. There's that scene, but...
Which is kind of a tease from the comic book because apparently the Kit Harington's character, the Black Knight, is actually part of an Avengers team in the book somewhere.
Yeah, but that's
you're digging for diamonds in a whole sea of coal.
Grasping at straws is like what they say. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so that was that. Up until today, as we record this, I was thinking, man, Marvel needs a home run. They need to come back in the 9th strong to finish off this year.
Grand Slammed. World Series victory. Game 7.
Oh my God.
Spider-Man.
Dude. Man, Spider-Man.
I'm not sure how much into detail you want to go over this.
Not too much.
Let our listeners know that the next 20 minutes of this is actually separate.
If you haven't seen our already, we do have another video that's out right now. Just our full fresh out of the theater thoughts of No Way Home. So we talk all about that, non-spoiler and spoilery, and what we think about that. But I'm just gonna say, like I said, they needed a big one.
They got it.
And I can't remember if I said this in our review. I'm gonna say it now. For the first time since Endgame, this felt like an event.
Yeah.
This is the first time since Endgame and Infinity War where people were cheering. People were, like, there's stuff that really got them excited and clamoring for. And it was fun to be in that environment again.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long and we've sat through so much where it's either at home watching the TV shows or in subpar movies that just aren't
or in silence. There's been some great movies that I've seen for 2021 and I saw them alone
in the theater
because people don't want to take the risk or
but man, before I bought my ticket to the movie and I was seeing all those sellouts, all those non-available seats, I said this is going to be another $1 billion movie for them, and
there's a lot of factors that go into that. I mean, the Spider-Man story has been solid up front.
Yeah,
it's got the Avengers hook.
The rumors.
It's Marvel, and the rumors where if you don't watch it in the first weekend, you're fucked. Which is why I avoided my Facebook for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then with Omicron going around right now, there's already parts of the world that are shutting down again.
Yeah.
And there's a possibility that we can go into another shutdown sooner or later if this gets worse.
No,
and then
we're not doing a shutdown again.
Surprised?
No, I'm not.
To where your theaters might not be open, and you're gonna have to be watching it from home again. I hadn't felt this since Endgame,
right?
Where I was in the arena, I was in the theater, and everybody's gasping, everybody's yelling, everybody's clapping. Some people
in the quiet scenes, people were being quiet.
Yeah,
that's when you know you got them.
Yeah,
and when we got certain reveals in that movie, we got applause, we got cheers. Yeah, it was a fun. Like I said, it felt like an event again for the first time since Endgame and Infinity War, and they need more of that. But like I said, they started 2021 strong with WandaVision. They had some lulls, and they ended strong as fuck with Spider-Man.
Do you think we get that again for Marvel in 2022? You think Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness gets the residuals from No Way Home? If you got Alfred Molina, if you got Tobey Maguire, if you got Andrew Garfield, and now we're doing the Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange, what other characters from what other universes or what other comic families are we going to get? Are we going to get the introduction of Fantastic Four? Are we going to get the tease of X-Men? Are we going to get A, B, C, D?
There is a rumor that Professor X shows up at some point, but I don't know. But
or any other movie in the MCU calendar that's going to have that kind of hype.
The only thing I'm going to say is when we talked about maybe our end of the year last year episode, when we're talking about prediction, expectations for next year, what we're looking forward to. When we're talking about Phase 4, I think I said the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was the one I was looking forward to the most. Mm-hmm. And that's still kind of remaining. I'm trying to think about what else is coming out.
MCU specific, Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Thor, Love and Thunder.
Okay.
Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
That's coming out next year?
Yeah. That's legit MCU.
Okay.
Parallel, Morbius, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
The trailer dropped for that. Yeah, I remember seeing
Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Part 1.
So out of the movie, so we're only getting 3 movies next year?
Yeah. And this doesn't count television. This is just on the big screen.
I think Thor Love and Thunder, with it being Taika and it being Thor or an OG
and passing the torch to Natalie Portman, apparently.
We're not going to go there. But they showed the poster. Did you see the poster that came out? I'll show it to you here in a second. But okay. It looks kind of wild, and because they show a lot of stuff in that poster, and if it has the same vibe and the same energy as Ragnarok,
Ragnarok
that has the potential. That has the potential to be the standout movie of 2022 for the MCU. For the MCU.
Yeah.
If not that, then I would say Doctor Strange because it's still continuing the multiverse stuff. And then the Black Panther, I don't know because there's a lot of backstage rumors and stuff about what's going on with that one. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of surprised it still come out next year, to be honest. But
I'm still surprised they haven't recast.
Yeah, yet. Is there any TV shows that they announced for next year? I think probably Loki, but I don't know. Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, Moon Knight. She-Hulk I'm looking forward to. I love me some Tatiana Maslany. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she's doing. I don't really care about Ms. Marvel because it has to do with Captain Marvel, I guess. I don't know. And Moon Knight, Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight, that should be good. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Anything you're looking for? What are you looking forward to for next year? But what for MCU just in general with the way Phase 4 is going?
Right now, still on the Spider High. I'm waiting for the next chapter of Doctor Strange.
Yeah, and we got a trailer for it. The post credit scene.
Yeah,
is just the trailer. Yeah,
pretty straightforward. What happens when superheroes try to do things on their own, thinking that they're right, and you wonder what separates them from villains. Baron Mordo in that trailer. The biggest threat to the biggest problem with the time is you pointing at Doctor Strange. And so...
real quick spoiler, especially for you because you haven't seen What If, all the episodes. If you watched What If, you know there's an evil version of Doctor Strange. We see a live action version of that in this trailer. So that's where that was from. By the way.
Yeah. Cool.
But he's pretty wicked some of the stuff he can do. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do in the movies.
Yeah. So Doctor Strange right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like I said, for movies, I'm cautiously optimistic for Thor because I don't want it to be shoved in my throat about it being the female Thor and all this other stuff. I don't want them to focus on that, and I think there's going to be aspects that they are going to be doing that, especially with Valkyrie having a girlfriend or some shit, and then Jane Foster coming back out of nowhere and becoming Thor.
She misses the MCU money.
Yeah, basically. So there's some aspects that I'm not looking forward to. But I think the energy and the vibe, if they can carry it over, and if we can get another appearance by Jeff Goldblum, that'll be good. I think that has some potential to be the big one. And you see this thing with Chris Hemsworth, and he's saying that he thinks people are getting tired of Thor or they're getting burned out of him or something, or he's maybe getting burned out of Thor.
Huh? No, I haven't read that. I'm not sure. Again, the receipts talk. As long as people are still paying money to see Chris Hemsworth as Thor, there's no reason for him to doubt his ability or the direction that Marvel's taking his character.
I mean, he nails that character. Like, that's when I think of Thor, I think Hemsworth now. Yeah. So, like I said, that
is there superhero fatigue in general? Perhaps.
Well, this current stuff with Marvel up until Spider-Man, I was like, where's this going? Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Any final thoughts on Marvel MCU Phase 4? What would you give them right now? What grade would you give Phase 4 right now?
I'd give it a 7.
That's with more the TV shows and the movies?
Yeah. There's a lot of there's several shows that drag it down, and then the Grand Slam of Spider-Man averaged it back up.
Yeah.
So I'm at 7.
I might piggyback on that, and the highs really are really good. The
highs are outranking the lows.
And there's just enough where the good stuff is good. It's just not on the level of greatness that we've seen from the MCU before. But it still doesn't detract from the good parts. It's just we know they can do better.
I could be upfront and saying I don't regret watching anything I've seen so far, except maybe the Eternals.
Yeah.
Everything else was still, for what it's worth, was a good ride. It was time well spent, money well spent, subscription well spent, well purchased. You know? Yeah. And hopefully that continues.
Yep. So that was our thoughts and review on the state of the MCU, Phase 4. Currently in progress here. So
where does Phase 4 end?
I have no
idea. Are we
idea.
doing another Avengers or new Avengers with Kang as the villain?
I would imagine so. I would imagine there's going to be a new Avengers team. That's one thing I didn't mention. They've been planting
Fantastic Four comes out 2023, right?
I don't know. Probably they did announce the date.
They
for
did
it,
a tease with the logo.
No, but they've been planting seeds throughout the TV shows for the Young Avengers. Mm-hmm. In WandaVision, we got Speed and Wiccan, their kids. In Falcon Winter Soldier, we got Elijah, the grandson, who goes on to he gets the shield, and they didn't show anything with that, but he was there. So there was that. In Loki, we got Kid Loki, right? Or Sylvie, whichever one you can go with.
Or the Gator.
Yeah, that too. And then in Hawkeye, we have Kate Bishop. So they are building a team. They're just not showing it yet, and they're basically introducing the next generation, I guess, of the Avengers. So nothing official, I don't think. That's just my, I've been noticing.
But something specifically for the kids.
Yeah. Well, they noticed when they started this thing, they got actors in their 50s and 40s. And so, well, shit, what do we do?
Let's tie them down to 40-year contracts.
Yeah. We can only do so much de-aging.
Yeah.
That's it for this episode. For me, like I said, I'll probably agree with you. Probably 7 out of 10 for. I'm still a MCU lifer. Yeah. I'm gonna watch.
Got you by the balls,
Yeah. I'm gonna watch whatever they pump out, but it's just whether it's good or not. And I have a high expectation for what they can do, and I want to see them get back to their glory from the Infinity Saga. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we're gonna get there because that's such a high bar just in general. But anyway, that's gonna do it. What did you guys think? Where are you at right now on Phase 4? What's the thing you like the most? What do you think you like the least? Is there anything that you want to see change? Do you have any expectations for going forward? Tell us what you think in the comments. And until next time, always remember to
pop your culture.